7 out of 13 of the last Super Bowl losers has suffered the Super Bowl hangover, which means that you go to the Super Bowl, you lose, and you don't make it to the playoffs. Could the Eagles be the next team to suffer from the infamous Super Bowl hangover? And I strongly doubt that they will. They're favored by Vegas to once again win the NFC. And unless they have like a ton of injuries, Jalen Hurts goes down, they lose a couple of their starters on the offensive line, they lose maybe Devontae Smith or AJ Brown, they probably are going to end up once again making it back to the postseason. And I think there's a very good chance that they end up winning this division once again. Now, I know that the NFC East hasn't had a back-to-back division champion in a very long time, but the Philadelphia Eagles could most definitely end that streak. They still have the most talented team in this division, and I still don't really think that it's all that close. Although Dallas isn't too far behind them, I still think that there's a pretty large gap between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. They lost Javon Hargrave. Eagles fans will tell you that was a gigantic loss. But you know who you're going to be replacing him with? You drafted the demon from Apaka. That is the monster Jalen Carter. And y'all boys know I love me some Jalen Carter. I think this dude is going to come in right away and he's going to have at least 8 or 9 sacks or more. He's that good. Many people are expecting him to have an Aaron Donald-like impact. He potentially could have been the #1 overall pick in this past year's NFL draft, but he got into some off-the-field trouble that gave a lot of people some red flags about his character. But I think that Jalen Carter is going to be really productive for Philadelphia his rookie season this year. Then you lost 2 key contributors at linebacker in TJ Edwards, Kazir White, but you're going to be replacing one of those guys with Nakobe Dean, who you were able to steal in last year's draft. In the middle of the draft, Nakobe Dean was supposed to be a first-round pick, and somehow you were able to get him in the middle of the draft last year. So he's going to be starting this year. You lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Now, I don't know who you're going to replace him with. You did sign Terrell Edmunds. Me being a Steelers fan, I can tell you that there's going to be a huge drop-off in play from going from Chauncey Gardner to Terrell Edmunds. And Terrell Edmunds isn't bad, but he's not great in coverage. He'll end up making some big plays for you in the run game. He isn't really somebody who misses a lot of tackles. He's more of a good safety when it comes to run support. If you want to blitz him off the edge, I think he can be pretty good in that department as well. But I definitely think you're going to see a drop-off at that position if he's going to be the man who's going to be replacing Deuce. But you do have Reed Blankenship, who had a fantastic season last year. I don't think anybody expected him to be as good as what he was. And then at running back, you lost Miles Sanders, but you potentially upgraded when you traded for not Devontae Smith. It's crazy with these DeAndre and Devontae names, but DeAndre Swift, who I was really high on. The problem with DeAndre Swift is that he can't really stay healthy, but when he's on the field, I think he's a better back than Miles Sanders. He's really explosive with the ball in his hands. He's also a phenomenal pass catcher. Maybe in certain situations, you can also line him out wide in the slot and he can do some damage at that position for you as well. Then you sign Rashad Penny, Rashad Penny is pretty solid when he's able to stay healthy, but key word, when he's able to stay healthy, this dude is one of the most fragile running backs in the NFL. You breathe on him and the man gets injured. But if he can stay healthy and Philadelphia is able to find a way to keep him on the field and give him some meaningful snaps, I think that he could be really good in his backfield. Then you return James Bradbury, Darius Slay, Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey. There's a lot of vets on this team that's been with Philadelphia for a very long time that are running it back. There's no way Philadelphia should suffer from the Super Bowl hangover. The teams that suffer from the Super Bowl hangover normally aren't that good. They have a lot of their key contributors from their previous year when they made the Super Bowl who end up regressing, i.e. the LA Rams. Jared Goff regressed. Todd Gurley went from being an elite running back to a below average running back in over the span of a year. I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to have that kind of regression to anybody. And plus, they have drafted really well. They're really good at developing the young players that they have on their roster. They did lose 2 of their coordinators, Jonathan Gannon, Shane Steichen, Both got head coaching jobs, but I trust in Nick Sirianni. I think that he did a pretty good job of replacing the coordinators that he lost to the head coaching gigs that they received. I don't think Philadelphia is going to have a Super Bowl hangover. If Philadelphia ends up having a Super Bowl hangover, they will need a lot to go wrong. And they will also need this division, like the Commanders, the Cowboys, and the Giants, to just be absolutely better than them for that to happen. We saw what they did to the New York Giants in the postseason. They blew those boys out of the water. They were making the New York Giants look like they were a JV high school football team. The Dallas Cowboys, you know what the Dallas Cowboys do, man. In big moments, big games, especially in the postseason, they fold every single time. And the Washington Commanders, although I do like them, I don't think they're on the level of the Philadelphia Eagles. For the Philadelphia Eagles to have a Super Bowl hangover, they need a lot to go wrong more than they need a lot to go right. Everything goes right for Philadelphia, they're going to be right back in the Super Bowl picture. I still think that they're going to make it back to the Super Bowl. I don't really think anybody in the NFC is still remotely close to Philadelphia. You can say the 49ers, but they don't have the talent at quarterback that Philadelphia has. And Jalen Hurts, word on the street is that he's getting into a bigger bag, and I'm not talking about him just getting paid with that massive extension that he recently signed. I'm talking about him improving as a passer, and he was already a really good passer. He was one of the most accurate quarterbacks last season and throwing outside the numbers. So for people who are reporting that Jalen Hurts is improving even more as a passer, that's just outright scary. And with Jalen Hurts, as long as he can stay healthy, I think Philadelphia is going to be one of the best teams in the NFC this year. One thing that I loved about Jalen Hurts is his calm demeanor. I remember after he had that turnover and it really kind of swung the momentum of the game. What did he do the following drive? He came right back with a score of his own. That's what you want to see out of your young quarterback. That's what you want to see out of your leader. Resilience, somebody who doesn't get rattled. Philadelphia needs a lot to go wrong more than they need to go right in order for the Super Bowl hangover to affect them. I don't think they're going to suffer from that at all. I expect them to not only win their division again, but to also be a lock for the playoffs. They're probably the safest bet outside of Kansas City to be a true lock for the postseason this year and to have the #1 overall seed in their conference.